make it difficult to talk about. YouTube automatically scans the words that creators use, including in the subtitles. So if I say out loud or type in my script the words that I want to say, this video will get blocked. So, in order to get around that, I've enlisted the help of fashion YouTuber Luke Ma from the channel Haute la Mode. He's gonna say something nice, and the words I really mean will appear on the screen like this. Lolita tells the story of a
man.
Or, to use the American pronunciation,
man.
Called Humbert Humbert, who becomes obsessed with a 12-year-old girl, Dolores Hayes, who he calls Lolita. He rents a room belonging to Dolores' mother Charlotte, who falls in love with him, and in order to get closer to Dolores, he agrees to marry Charlotte. She then discovers that he is a
man
and tries to take Dolores away, but, shocking coincidence, is run down by a car before she can tell a soul. Humbert decides to
go on a lovely holiday
and travels across America with her,
playing Animal Crossing
along the way. So let's get the obvious take out of the way. Have you considered that the novel might be a little bit problematic? The novel was rejected by several publishers, and when it did eventually come out, it was initially banned in the UK and France, with one reviewer calling it
a classic of modern literature.
The film adaptations have been similarly storied. The 1962 version by Stanley Kubrick had to be made under strict restrictions from the MPAA, and the 1997 version, starring Jeremy Irons, initially struggled to find a distributor and was banned from release in Australia for 2 years.
How did they ever make a movie of Lolita?
One of the reasons it's so controversial is the story is written from Humbert's point of view, casting him in a very sympathetic light. Obviously, as a child, Dolores can't consent to what happens, but he tries to spin it like she is. Inspired by the novel, there are interesting discussions to be had about the portrayal of non-consent in stories, about the banning of controversial art, and about young women's bodies in contemporary media. None of which I am qualified to talk about. If you're here for that, then I'm afraid you're in the wrong place. Lindsay Ellis's channel is next door. I am a himbo who did not study English literature beyond the age of 16. My analysis is words. Yep, sure are some good ones in that. It's very awkward and yet quite charming, and very funny in places, and uncomfortably sexual a lot. So basically, Nabokov has perfectly captured the experience of watching anime. What I can talk about, though, is the clash between beauty and ugliness. And if people thought Lolita was bad, they should have read this. Ardor. I've just realised I'm going to have to pixelate that in post because the cover art of this book alone violates YouTube's community guidelines. Ardor is another novel also by Vladimir Nabokov. Published in 1969, nice, it tells the story of a guy called Van Veen and the beautiful, extremely
emotionally supportive
lifelong love affair he has with the woman of his dreams, Ardor. The book has a personal significance to me. You can probably tell that my copy is absolutely falling apart. I once arduously and ardently attempted to archive Ardor as an audiobook, and after an abject amorous abandonment, abated about a third of the way through. That's enough alliteration. It's not nearly as famous as Lolita, and it is a lot harder to read. It's longer, the sentences are complex, characters make double entendres in English, French, and Russian. Time skips around a lot. It's set on an alternate Earth, which is weirdly different from ours in certain very specific ways that you're just supposed to pick up on. It doesn't really tell you them. As one reviewer put it, you have to have a lover's patience if you're going to read Ardor. Oh, also, Van and Ardor are brother and sister. Apparently, Nabokov was like, wow, my last big novel was pretty controversial, so why not add incest? Both Lolita and Ada are kind of about this clash between beauty and ugliness. Van Veen is a horrible person, but he and Ada have this astonishing romance. Humbert Humbert is despicable, but there are moments of his story that are really quite moving. So my first question is, what is beauty? If the job of the artist is to create beautiful things, then what exactly does that mean? But I've also got to be honest with you, there is another element to this. In the last few weeks, every theatre, every art gallery, every museum has closed. Every single artist that I know is out of work. And I was supposed to be playing Count Dracula in a stage play, an adaptation of Dracula here in London, and we sold out. And then a week before opening night, we had to postpone the show until after the pandemic. Every artist that I know is just so demotivated and so, like, no one can do anything except lie on the couch and just weep. No one can make anything. And like millions of other people, I've been stuck in my flat, and instead of being on stage, I reread both of these novels. I basically just spent the first week of quarantine just like constantly reading Nabokov. So I'm wondering, like, why did I read these? Why now? If the job of the artist is to create beautiful things, then how on earth is anyone supposed to do that now? A lot of the philosophy of beauty talks about painting or sculpture or music, but this is Philosophy Tube, and I like doing the thing you don't expect. So I want to talk about perfume. Perfume is really interesting because creating it is an art form, but it's also an industry that has changed massively over the last few generations. Time was, the formulae for perfumes were closely guarded secrets. But when chemical analysis became widely available, suddenly anybody with the right tech could figure out what was in the bottle and make their own cheap knockoff. Creating scent has become a lot more scientific and technical, but it does still require a flair for the artistic. You probably know at least 10 famously beautiful paintings. But how many famously beautiful perfumes can you name? I'm like Chanel No. 5, Opium, Beyonce, David Beckham, Lynx Africa, I don't know. So here are two of my favorites. I've got Truefit and Hill's Grafton. It smells like lavender and lemony, but also with like a little bit of sandalwood. And it smells like an English dad. It smells like an English dad who captains a cricket team. But then after a few hours, it kind of like mellows and it becomes like, ooh, like a dashing army captain, you know? This one's just occasional though. My go-to is this. Le Baiser du Dragon for when I'm feeling extra, which is every day. The top note is almonds and there's almost a little bit of rum in there, but it's mainly just almonds all the way down. And then over time, it becomes this like chocolatey, orangey smell. It's just like, oh yeah. It's very evening. It's very slutty. It's like an almond dessert if that almond dessert was also trying to seduce you. There are disagreements about the proper way to apply. Some people prefer the spray a cloud and walk through it technique. Some guys just put aftershave straight on the face, and then if you kiss them, it's like... But here's the pro gamer move, right? It goes one on the front, one on the wrists, and then if you're really trying hard, it's one on the back of the neck. So that if somebody hugs you, they're like, ah. Actually, since we're doing social distancing now, you probably want to just dump the whole thing on your face. So after you've made sure you smell great, you're ready to do philosophy. And I'm wondering, what makes a beautiful perfume? And as research for this episode, I read a really interesting book by two noses called Perfumery, Practice and Principles, in which the authors say their job is to create pleasurable, meaningful, aesthetically pleasing scents. and they don't really have an exact theory of what aesthetic